For more than 2 decades, I have written in a diary almost every single day. And guess what? I saved them all. Each week, I will be reading from these archives and getting to know myself from the lens of my 10, 16, 25, and 36-year-old self. We'll explore big topics such as body image, queerness, divorce, addiction, mental health, and friendship. I'll read cringy poems and attempt to find compassion for the painful tenderness of my younger self. Join the drama of me and my guests as we explore our boy-crazy, closeted, angsty selves, one stupid page at a time. Hello, beautiful people. I'm home. As most of you know, if you've been following along on my journey, I was traveling in India for the last month or so, and I'm home. And there's going to be a whole podcast episode about it, maybe more than one, because wow, what a time your girl had. I learned so much about myself and so much about Shiva and his family, so much about my limitations, my bravery, the culture of the family that I am now married into. It was an incredible trip. It was a hard trip. I had a really awful flight home, and by the time I got home, I was literally weeping because I was so happy to be home. So yeah, it was an adventure, and I am still processing a lot of it. And I'm sure I'll do an episode about it. But for now, I want to take us back to Australia. I have 2 episodes out about my adventures in Australia. And to be honest, I kind of can't believe it took me 2 episodes to get through 6 weeks in Australia. But here we are. And I've got another pretty thick journal to get through. So I'm going to try to get through it today. If not, I might have to split this up into 4 episodes, which is totally fine, but we won't know until we try. So as it is, I have recently had a pretty rough time in Brisbane because I was trying to get a job at a nice restaurant and I ended up not getting the job. And I was really beating myself up for that. I'm also absolutely pining over my ex named Josh while I am sort of going through all of these other guys in Australia. I'm having one mental crisis after another. The last entry I read before I took a little break was really just me berating myself, telling myself, you must be better, you must change, you have to be nicer and more friendly and calmer and smarter and prettier. And it was pretty hard to read that. And I'm gonna continue reading this journal and see where I end up. So thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey. Like I said, I'm very excited to do an episode at some point on my trip to India. But for now, we are in Australia. I am 22 years old and I'm about to fall out of love, and get my ass completely kicked by loneliness. All right, let's get into it. Okay, February 26th, 2010. I really shouldn't panic. Oh, by the way, this says 10:30 a.m. on the bus to maybe Wandoo. I don't know what that says, but I really shouldn't panic. My plan is actually working out nicely. I can leave Brisbane comfortably after making a few $100s with Justine to cover some expenses. Then I can go to Melbourne with Jessa and do some of the things on my list. I can go to Barossa Valley, maybe Western Australia, Adelaide, see some things and escape the heat. LOL. Would be good for me. I need to do some research on grape picking in Barossa and some cool restaurants there. I'm sure there will be plenty. I don't need to panic. I need to take a deep breath. Things will be okay. I just desperately need a change of scenery. Brisbane will be fine until Monday, and then sayonara. I'll meet up with Jess, travel for a week, and then go south. I am thrilled. Okay, so that's my plan. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, that is not what happens. I had a good night. I sat in the pub downstairs. I had 3 $5 pints and treated myself to fish and chips, $13. I spoke to Beck, an English lone traveler who told me all about her travels in Thailand. I wonder if I'll ever go. Then I went upstairs and had another few beers with Steve and some German guy. It was a good time. I ran to the bottle shop and had a few more beers. I played harmonica on the steps again. I went to bed feeling okay, took full advantage of my solo room. I had a nice long shower, walked around the room naked, and fell asleep watching Family Guy. So, Melbourne, what will you bring me? I need to spend some solid time in the library researching tomorrow, I think. This week will be dedicated to figuring my shit out. Hopefully doing some cool stuff, not spending too much money, doing some cooking, making some friends. Maybe I should go back to Byron Bay, up to Noosa, or give the Gold Coast another chance, or should I just stay here in Brisbane? It's all undecided at this very moment. I would like to spend as little cash as possible, but do and see some cool stuff. So many options. Something they don't tell you about traveling. Reading that, I'm just exhausted, because something they don't tell you about traveling, especially solo traveling, is so much of your time will just be spent deciding where to go next and how to get there, and then your plans changing and then having to decide it again. And especially when I was this young and I was away for so long, every day was just okay, let's decide where to go and how to get there. And a lot of my time is spent being anxious about not knowing where I'm going to be next and how I'm going to get there. Ten, 1 a.m. I've been here for a solid 6 weeks. Amazing. I decided to, instead of taking the free bus home, to jog. I took Ann Street all the way home, and it felt good. When I got back, I had a hot shower and ate a giant bowl of pasta. I ran into Mick and Bill, which I had met that morning for over breakfast, and decided to go with them for one last tap, or beer, as the English call it. It was difficult because Mick is in a wheelchair, and it was quite awkward. He deals with it every day. God, that's got to be so, so hard. We finally found a place that had wheelchair access and decided to sit for a beer. I tried a Kilkenny, which I liked. We chatted a lot more about woofing, Melbourne, and England. What a strange little trio we were. An English man, an Australian man, and a 22-year-old Canadian traveling by herself. Funny how these things happen. And now I am here sitting at this picnic table alone, apart from the particularly gorgeous boy who just sat across from me, writing. It keeps me so, so sane. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's 1 a.m. and there's a gorgeous boy sitting across from me. The world is my oyster. I spent all night drinking with friends. Next entry, 10 a.m., starts with an arrow to my previous entry about the gorgeous boy, and I say, that boy was real nice. Sergey, a German who I sat and talked with until 3 a.m. He loved my name. He was traveling alone as well, and we chatted about things a lot, exchanged pictures and stories. It was a nice night. I didn't sleep well, though, and I'm very tired now. I'm waiting for the library to open so I can do some research and then go to the market in the powerhouse. I will get a nice coffee, methinks. It's cold out today, but refreshing, I guess. February 28th. Oh, boy. I'm kind of smiling. Can you all guess why I'm smiling? We're seeing a pattern here. I ran into Sergey at the hostel. He was in the TV room watching Step Up and gave me a slice of his pizza, which turned into 2 slices and a long evening on the couch. Me and Sergey talked and flirted. He said, well, that's a pretty dress, and made comments that I must say made me feel pretty good. We'll have dinner together tomorrow and some drinks, I think. I'm kind of excited to make something spicy. Pasta primavera again, perhaps? Then I make a grocery list. Okay, so let's see where those dinner and drinks took me, shall we? Monday, March 1st, 8:45 a.m. I remember this clear as day. I remember this morning so bad. And what I remember before I read this entry is sitting in the train station, so embarrassed, and just telling myself I would sell my soul for like a cheeseburger and a Diet Coke. That's all I wanted. I wanted some greasy food and a Diet Coke, which that's what you want when you're hungover. But I remember it so viscerally. Okay, so Monday, March 1st, 8:45 a.m. I can't believe I missed my bus. Oh boy. $30 down the drain. I had fun last night. After work, I hung out with Christina, the German girl from our room. We went to Kohl's, and then I made dinner for me and Sergey and his Indian friend named Dan. I made yummy, spicy pasta primavera with bow ties and put calamari and shrimp in it. Tasty, tasty, and everyone loved it. We all sat out on the patio with beers. An English girl named Elaine joined us, and it was a good time. We all laughed and talked into the night. Me and Sergey playing footsies under the table. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. This is so embarrassing. Okay, eventually, after about 8 beers and too many oh my God, if I drank, oh, my God. I don't drink now, but like if I drank 8 beers, I would die. And too many cigarettes. We were asked to leave. We were sitting downstairs when me and Sergey started to kiss. Well, I kissed him because I wanted to at the time, the sexual tension, and I was horny. And I like Sergey. He's nice. He's kind of innocent almost because of the language barrier. And what can I say? It was fun. We kissed on the bench, and then he pushed me into the laundry room and then into the stairwell. He was actually a nice kisser, although too much tongue, just like every other European I've kissed. It was passionate, and eventually he put his hand down my pants. We went back to his room and were asked to leave. It was so awkward, and I was so embarrassed. I sprinted out of his room. I don't regret it. It was really, really fun. I finally had a hookup in Australia. I don't know what I'm talking about, finally. It was nice to feel wanted and be touched. Although I do still feel a little embarrassed. Anyways, je suis très hungover. The bus leaves at 1 p.m. Okay, so like I'm not scratching the surface enough of how fucking humiliating it was. So basically me and this guy, Sergey, who is nice and cute, are just making out all over the hostel. And these are young people problems when you're staying in a hostel and like there's nowhere to hook up. So we go to his room, a dorm room where there's other people in the room and just are like making out, and they ask us to leave. Duh. And I'm just mortified. So I run out of the room. Okay. So then 4 hours later, I write, I'm waiting for the bus. I wish I was home right now so bad. I'm hungover and I'm feeling a little strange. I spoke to Alan on the phone. I feel nothing for him now. I guess I have to be grateful for him, and really I do, but I feel nothing. He says he's sad to see me go and keeps saying, hey, if you need any money, ... And I feel really embarrassed about Sergey, letting him finger me in the stairwell. I'm not that girl. So here I go, like kind of slut-shaming myself somehow. And they probably saw it on the camera, which is why the front desk ladies were acting funny, ? It was a drunken hookup, and I suppose it makes me feel a bit awkward, although I guess I shouldn't. I'm just having fun, ... So what you're seeing here is like hangover anxiety. I'm super duper anxious. So like what happened in the morning was I woke up and realized I missed my bus. The bus that I've been looking forward to for like weeks to get me out of Brisbane. And I missed the bus because I got so drunk the night before. I got rip-roaring drunk and was hooking up with a guy, fled from his room. And then the next morning I wake up, missed my bus. those hours between like this entry and the first entry, I'm basically just like hobbling around the hostel in like my hungover state, and I actually see Sergey in the common room and I book it. I just completely avoid him. I'm sure he saw me and saw me avoiding him. I was so embarrassed. And then I make it to the bus stop and I'm just sitting there like waiting, and I'm so hungover and I'm paranoid and I'm anxious and I'm missing my friends, and it's just awful. Oh, next page, I literally wrote, oh, what I would do for a Diet Coke. I knew it. I remembered that so viscerally. I sense my alcohol-induced anxiety in this entry so viscerally, and like, thank God I don't drink anymore because I never have to experience this ever again, because I used to experience this daily, and it was a prison. I do write kind of like a little like poemy thing on the side of the next page. I write, I wonder what it would be like if I fell in love here, if the next person I met, the next time I turned a corner, the next boy I spoke to, if we were meant to be, and I had someone to get all wrapped up in, to fall in love with. Oh, Yoda. I know so many feelings, so many more feelings than before I came here. To be lost, to be alone, to be grateful, to be silent, to be appreciated, to be uncertain, to be drunk with joy, to be ridden with guilt, to be scared, to be paranoid, to be excited, to be loved by a stranger, to be filled with homesickness. I know so many feelings now. I miss Corey and can't stop thinking about him, how close I was to having him back in my life. Just last July, it could have been us. God, I miss him. Yeah. Oh, all of this just hurts my heart. The memories. The memories.
Hey, I want to talk to you about an awesome organization that I've been volunteering with for a couple of months. Exhale Pro Voice. It's estimated that about 1 in 4 people with uteruses will get an abortion in their lives, but we know that number is actually closer to 1 in 3. People can say a lot of things about what abortion is, but the one thing that it isn't is rare. People from all over North America access this free, confidential text line for after-abortion care and support. I've been a volunteer counselor for about 4 months, and I've met so many amazing people in my time there. It's a completely non-judgmental space for folks who have had or who will need abortions to go for resources, conversation, love, and support. We're here to listen on the line, and you can text us anytime at 617-749-2948. Again, that's Exhale Pro Voice, 617-749-2948. Volunteers are on the line weekdays from 6 p.m. to midnight, that's Eastern Standard Time, as well as Saturdays and Sundays from 3 to 9. Again, the number to text is 617-749-2948. This could be if you are someone who's struggling because you've recently had an abortion, someone who maybe might need an abortion in the near future and have questions. Maybe you're someone who loves someone who's really having a hard time after their abortion. Either way, we're here for you. 617-749-2948. Exhale Pro Voice. Text us. We're here.
Okay, so the next bunch of days and pages are, again, me trying to figure out what my next move are. I'm basically where I am geographically is I'm like a third of the way up the east coast of Australia. I'm kind of like a few hours from Sydney, but I'm not exactly where I want to be. And I've got all of these thoughts of like what my future holds. My future might be, okay, I go home after a few more months of traveling. Maybe I get a job and I see if I can stay here for an extra year. I'm talking about traveling in Europe. I'm talking about going to Thailand. I'm really undecided on what I want to do, and I'm kind of just bebopping around. Okay, and then a little while later that day I write, so I booked my flight to Perth. Decisive. I like it, Yodes. I received an email from Luke this morning which confirmed my thoughts that I should go. I sat for a few minutes wondering what exactly I should do. I had a moment of thinking I did not want to leave Jess and go on my own, which is probably around the time I clicked, okay, buy ticket. It's a good opportunity to not only escape Brisbane, but to go somewhere new, be on my own, make some cash, and learn. I am thrilled. I'm scared and nervous, but so excited. I mean, that's very exciting. I book a flight to the opposite side of Australia, and like I said, it seems like I'm feeling positive. Jessa gets sick. Well, later in this entry, I say Jessa is sick. I'm trying to take care of her. I made her soup and walked to the store for her. I would hate to have a throat infection and not be in my own bed. Also later in this entry, I say, side note, I'm a little disappointed that Josh didn't message me back. I sent him an email trying to be as casual as possible. LOL. Saying I hope things aren't awkward and that we should still be friends, but I've heard nothing back. I'm not sure what to make of it at all. Maybe I need to give it more time and just go with the flow. When I come back home, we'll see. No, Yoda. This man has been, he's not a man, he's a boy, but he's been so clear. He couldn't be clearer. We know from the last episode, he literally wrote me a message that said, stop writing to me. I'm not interested. But I'm just having a hard time letting go. And here's why. Next line. I miss having a boy in my life. Being single has been good to me. But I have to say, I'm a wee bit lonely. You think? Good grief. I can't even manage to be on my own for 5 seconds. I say, immediately after I say, there are two beautiful lesbians so in love beside me. They are kissing and caressing and holding hands and gazing into each other's eyes. It makes me miss everyone I've ever touched. Yeah. This diary is a journey. There's so much stuff. If you're hearing all those background noises, it's because there's so much stuff glued into this. There's email addresses written on scraps of paper. There's plane tickets. There's train stubs. There's business cards. There's so much stuff glued into this journal. It's hard getting through it. Okay, so the next day, I am on my way to Perth. March 6th, I say I just got back to the hostel and packed. I went to bed. I was heaps tired. Yeah, I'm Australian now. I woke up far too early and made it to the airport with 2 hours to spare. I have been wandering around being nervous. The whole getting here was very straightforward. Blah, 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 blah. I suppose I feel a strange connection to Mom doing this. She must have been so lonely on all those flights because my mom traveled basically for my entire childhood. And every time I travel, I actually feel connected to my mom. I feel a little strange now. I'm a little nervous about when I actually get to Perth, how to get to the city and how to get around. It will be a strange and new experience. I don't want to have any anxiety / loneliness / moments of panic. Okay. I wonder at times if I should be doing this at all, but I am. I can't look back. I can't think of this as a negative or scary situation. I should, if anything, be very proud of myself. My first solo plane ride. It's exhilarating, really. I'm opening a new chapter of my travels. I sure am. And here's how the chapter begins. What do you guys think? What do you think's going to happen? March 6th, 7:30 p.m., Western Australia. An interesting day. The flight went really well. I sat next to a very nice New Zealand native named James. Guys, can you guess where this is going? He was so nervous for the flight. Haha, it was hilarious. This huge guy shaking in his seat next to me, the first time flyer. Anyways, James was so nice. We talked the whole flight. Then he gave me a lift to the youth hostel. Strange how that all fell into place. We had a beer together and exchanged numbers. Of course we did. I actually do remember this James fellow, and it was quite funny, like getting seated next to each other on this flight and just an odd combo. He was like 3 times my size, quite a bit older than me, but we got on really well. I got to the hostel. It was good to shower and do all my laundry. I hate traveling with dirty clothes. I met a few people and went to a walk to Woolworths. Expensive city Perth is. Okay, we're getting our bearings. I'm feeling good about being here. The weather is absolutely perfect today. Tomorrow I look forward to another long and lazy day. I plan to sleep in, eat good, and go to the beach. Okay, summertime and the living's easy. I came back to the hostel and had a really scary experience. There was this really drunk girl who threw up in the bathroom and then started ripping her clothes off. Her equally drunk boyfriend got in the car and drove off with her. It left me feeling on edge, unsafe, and worried. I hope they made it home okay. I really do. Okay, so I spend a couple lazy days in Perth. It's March 7th, and I say this morning I miss Josh, or I suppose I miss the idea of crawling back into bed with Josh on a Sunday morning and the morning sex that would follow. Valid. That's valid, girl. I slept in, woke up at 9, feeling lovely and refreshed, excited for my day. I ended up meeting 2 really nice Irish boys, Anthony and Les. We chatted by the pool and decided to go to the beach together. We went for lunch, and I had a salami sandwich with heaps of mustard. We took the train to Cotslow. We walked the beach with our 2 friends, John and Amy. Amy was a sweet girl, but her accent was so heavy I couldn't understand her. We had a lovely afternoon lying in the sun. I drank about 4 beers in the sand, touched the Indian Ocean, and watched the sunset. It was stunning. We came back for a late night dinner, feeling a little buzzed and happy about my new friends. Well, that's nice. Had a nice, easy day, meeting some new friends. So pretty much all it took was that one awesome day with new friends and just exploring Perth for a few days by myself to really build some confidence. I start this page with, and now I'm getting the hang of it, this whole traveling thing. I might just have to start planning the rest of my life. I really want to see the rest of Canada when I get home. Road trip to the East Coast and then fly out west maybe, work in Whistler. And I want to go to the States, see California, and go to those places I planned a year ago. The French Laundry, Chez Panisse, Napa, Sonoma Valley. I want desperately to go to Europe. After meeting all these travelers, how could I not want to go there? Ireland and England are a must. France and Spain and Italy for the food. Germany and Holland and Ukraine most definitely. Also, seriously considering Dubai for the culinary experience, and Asia, Laos, Thailand, and all the places all of these travelers I meet up with keep telling me about. South America, maybe talk to Elsa and go to Peru. God, so many places to go and see. I just can't fucking wait. I can't fucking wait for my life. Wow. So what's exciting about this, what makes me smile about this, is I did pretty much everything on this list. Worked in Whistler, East Coast Canada, went to the French Laundry, Chez Panisse, Napa, went to France and Spain and Italy, Germany, Holland. Haven't been to Ukraine yet, or Dubai. Did go to Thailand. You know, it's pretty amazing to... It's an amazing privilege to be someone who's traveled a lot, and wow, I've had some serious adventures, and yeah, it was just nice to read that. I do end up meeting up with James, the New Zealander from the plane again. I am March 9th, 9 a.m. on the bus. I lounged at the hostel last night, did some laundry, and then met up with James for dinner. We had the most delicious mussels, garlic, white wine, and chilies with Greek salad and feta and a tasty garlic baguette. James bought us some white wine. I mean, that sounds fucking delicious. It was really good. It was a nice time, although I'm not sure if James got the wrong impression. All he could say was how beautiful dinner was and how amazing the night was, and kept asking if he could come see me in a week and take me to dinner. James is nice, but all I want is friendship. Okay, so not feeling the vibes from James. Anyways, after my 7 glasses of white wine, I felt un petit peu drunk, I went down to the pub to find a cigarette. I ran into Chris and Chris, the British boys who kissed my hand when they introduced themselves to me. I had quite a buzz on, and then had a beer and a shot. I started talking to the guy who I'd seen in the internet cafe the day before about Brisbane and how happy I was to be here instead, and I was. Aside from realizing I had to be up at 5:30 for the first day of my new job and being on my way to being quite drunk and James calling me beautiful, I had a great time. I left in the middle of my pint to go to bed. I am quite excited to check out this hostel. It will be so nice to just stay somewhere. I hope it works out and I meet good groups of people. I think the next day I write at 5 p.m. at the beach. I go through phases. Today I had an overwhelming phase of wanting to leave this place. It could have been the long bus ride or being alone in a small town far from anything. It could be just a bout of loneliness when I arrived in Dunsborough, or it could be the hangover. Darren, the hostel owner, is so kind and cute. The hostel is a 1-minute walk from the beach, the beautiful beach I spent all afternoon on. I walked about 10 minutes on the secluded shore, kind of sad to be by myself. I wish Jess could see this, and Dad and Mushy and all my friends. It's so peaceful. I lay down on a big rock, went for a dip in the pristinely clear, warm ocean, dried on a rock in the sun, a beauty day. I played some harmonica and colored a picture. It was a perfect afternoon. So I am partying it up in Perth in the city, and then I travel to a small town called Dunsborough, which will be my home for the next several weeks. The hostel life is going to continue to get to me. March 11th, 1 a.m. Your girl's having a tough time. What a fucking day. Emotionally worn. But there's been scattered bits of sunshine throughout my day. I spent all morning thinking. I spoke to a long list of people, went to the beach, tried to meditate, lounge, read. I came back to the hostel at 12:30 just before I had to work, and I had a mental breakdown. And then I wrote, wow, I've had a few of those since being here. Emotional wreck I am. I began to cry in my room. I hesitated about going to work, hesitated so much. Thought about getting on the first bus out of here. I really thought about it. Mark, the uber nice, cute Canadian boy who was in my room, came in and asked if I was okay. I broke down right in front of him, told him everything about wanting to go home, missing my friends, hating the hostel, not wanting to go to work in this small town and worry about rides. So much stress. I was completely overwhelmed. He was really understanding, so much so that I felt a weird debt to him. He said, if you can, you should try to be strong for today and go to work and at least try it out. He also said, when I spoke of splitting town, wait here. I'll try to find you a ride to Margaret River. He was so nice. I should make him dinner or something. Then Darren came in. Darren is the gentleman who runs this hostel. He saw how upset I was and just closed the door, sat on the bed, and offered his ears. I told him how I felt as well. He said not to worry, that I wasn't tied into anything. He offered to go to the chef for me to see what he could do. He also said not to worry, that he would let me stay in a singles room for free. He said, "You can be alone, and if you need anything at all, call me." When I arrived, I found my bed made with pillows and everything, a fresh, clean towel, and this note. It absolutely warms my heart. And then I stuck the note in. It says, "Yoda, hope your first night was okay. Feel free to grab a beer from the fridge or some food if you wish. Cheers, Darren." This was like one of the biggest acts of kindness that's ever been bestowed upon me, actually. Basically, yeah, I had like a mental breakdown in this hostel, and I had to like leave for my first shift immediately after, and yeah, it was just hard. It was just a lot of change all at once, and I was feeling really lonely. And turns out I went to the job, and my first shift was great. I write a lot about it. I talk about my coworkers, my boss. I say I worked the pizza station. I said I learned all sorts of stuff, how to make dough, naan bread. Yeah, so basically I said I feel like I did a good job, and man, did it feel good to be back to cooking again. To prep and cook and have timing and setup and clean up. I feel like this will be a good experience. I work 7 days this week. It will be a nice distraction. I will talk to Darren tomorrow and ask him, what will it take to stay in this room? So the room that I was staying in was like a solo room, not a dorm room. And I said, I will ask him, what will it take to stay in this room until I find something more permanent? I can deal with this hostel. I mean, I should try at least, work as many hours as I can, get as much cash as possible, and then figure out my next move. I need to relax a little. I freaked out today. I just lost it. When I came back to the hostel, I felt so damn antisocial and embarrassed, which was silly because everyone is so nice here. Okay, so things are maybe looking up. I'm living it up in my solo room. I say it's so great to have this room to sprawl in my bed. I wrote in big letters across the page, sprawl. I got a sound night's sleep. It's so great to put all my little things away. Being here as a backpacker has taught me to appreciate what's important. To me, a routine and a little bit of organization are so important. True to this day. If it took a mental breakdown in a hot little hostel in Australia for me to learn this lesson, it never left me. Never left me. You can force yourself to go out of that comfort zone, but you can't ever be fully okay with missing those things. Like for me, I still write every day to organize my thoughts, and I still make lists constantly, and I have to organize my bag to the best of my ability almost every day. I can't handle the hostels all the time for that reason, just like I can't handle work when people are messy. I crave order. It's something that can't change. And I am, however, glad that I stepped outside the extreme comfort zones I had at home. I guess I feel a little spoiled right now. Maybe a little OCD right now, too. Many entries are me just getting used to my new job. I basically work for a week straight. I'm getting to know all my coworkers. I meet an English girl named Krista, who I also become very good friends with. And Krista is traveling, and she's been living with this Australian school teacher who rents her a room in her home. But Krista doesn't need the room anymore. So she suggests to me that I should maybe take this room instead of living in the hostel. I go check it out. I think it's a great idea. And I actually leave the hostel and decide to move in with this Australian girl named Erin. All of these characters are important. Basically, I traded in the hostel, my sweet little room, sleeping naked, the tub, oh my God, my bath last night was amazing, and the aloneness for some good company, a nice kitchen, and a home. Oh, and free laundry, internet, and leftovers. I spend a lot of time with Krista moving forward. She's visiting Australia, but she's been there for a while, and she has a vehicle and she drives us around. I say we spent the morning in Margaret River. We had a fun time. We did some wine tasting, walked around town, did some window shopping, went to the beach, watched a bit of a surf competition. March 18th, 6 a.m., I've just woken up to throw up. So I'm assuming I went out for St. Patrick's Day, and Jess is actually in Perth. So she actually decides to take a nanny job in Perth, and we reunite in Perth on my night off for St. Patrick's Day and have a rager, and it doesn't go well. I say, I threw up all morning. I wonder if it was the sub I ate or the pasta I randomly cooked at 1 a.m. Or maybe it was the 20 million beers you had, Yoda. Either way, I feel a little bit better now after tossing and turning with nausea and a headache and the sweats all night. It was a strange night. I got to the hostel feeling okay. I had a fun car ride drinking with Krista and Aaron, rocking out, but seeing Jess annoyed me from the moment I saw her. I was so bitter with her last night. I hate how she can just seemingly have it all. She can talk about Brian like he's her boyfriend, but then she says, no, we're not dating. And then she can do whatever she wants with whoever she wants. And then I said, I don't know why this is my thought process. Why do I care? Am I perhaps a wee bit jealous? I don't know if I feel such hostility, but I just can't change it. I can't shake it at times. So my night was half botched from the get-go. I didn't really want to go out, especially with all these guys draped all over Jess. They were all super creepy, especially the super obnoxious American guy. We went to a pub decked in Irish people. It was a crazy time. I only had half a pint and spent half my time chasing Jess around. I left in a taxi by myself and was upset. The taxi driver let me give him my $5 because it was all I had. I saw Krista when I got back and was quite upset. She hugged me and said, "It's okay, you've got me and Aaron now." I say, it felt good to cry and be comforted. God, how long has it been since I've been hugged? I wasn't feeling the party scene. I felt ill and tired, so I went to bed. It's moments like this where I wonder why I even bother going out. I'm just never happy with my experience. Not true. It's not that I'm never happy with my experience. It's just this night was a rough night. That's too bad. That's too bad that I had a rough St. Patrick's Day. My only St. Patrick's Day in Australia, but that's the way she goes sometimes. So the next many pages are just me at work. I'm finally distracted by a job, thank goodness. And I'm spending most of my free time, which I don't have a lot of. I'm working like 12, 13, 14-hour days, pretty much all days. But I'm spending any free time hanging out with Krista, my new roommate, Aaron. I'm missing home. I'm trying to eat healthy and just kind of going back and forth. Then I decide to leave my job and leave Aaron's place. And I make this decision because I finally decided that I'm going to go home in early May. So originally when I booked my flights for this trip, I had to have a return ticket. I didn't have enough money to only book a one-way because at the time to get a working visa, you had to either have a certain amount of money saved up or you had to have a return ticket booked. So I just picked a random date for my return ticket. I think it's March or May 5th or something like that. And I've actually decided over the course of the last month or so that I'm actually going to go home on that date instead of changing my ticket or continuing to travel. And that was a decision that I literally spent thousands of pages contemplating and going back and forth on. And I finally made the choice. And now it means that I only have 1 month left in Australia. And I'm going to spend that month traveling. I've worked for a bit. I've saved up enough money that I can kind of get home. And Aaron and Krista, my friends, are coming with me. So they've actually agreed to drive me from Perth to Adelaide because they want to go on a road trip, which is very exciting because it was a road trip of a lifetime. So basically on April 7th, I write Today was my last shift at the restaurant. It was so good, and I'm so glad to be done. So glad. It was a busy night. I shook the chef's hand, gave him my card, shook the sous chef's hand. He said if I ever come back this way to look them up. So it was all good vibes, and I'm glad I stayed till the end instead of ghosting. So what I'm doing is I'm spending a few days in Perth until Aaron is ready to get some time off work, and then they're going to meet me in Perth, and we're going to start a road trip from there. So next, back in Perth, I'm staying at the hostel, and I go on a wine tour, and I meet a friend named Juuuust. And Juuuust is connected to an older gentleman. Don't know how they're connected, but he's got a yacht. And because I'm friends with Juuuust, I'm invited on the yacht. And we have this whole day planned, and we're going to a place called Rottnest Island, April 12th, 2010. My trip to Rottnest was epic. I write in all pink pen. So glad I seized the opportunity that I met Juuuust. What a peach she is. So we met and walked to the bell tower. Such a pretty area of Perth. God, I don't want to leave this city. I met up with her two friends. Let's call them V and G. Two middle-aged fellows on their beautiful yacht. We took a beautiful cruise on the Swan River. It was such a nice boat ride. I felt so incredibly happy to be on that boat in my beautiful dress in the sun and under the cloudless blue sky. It was perfect. We went for a brilliant champagne breakfast. I'm like, who am I? What's happening? On V's brother's $8 million boathouse. We all sat around and chatted, and then went to Rottnest Island. The wind had picked up, and the ride was quite choppy. I didn't get seasick, but I felt myself feel a little bit scared. It was okay, though. As soon as I saw that beautiful, lovely island, I felt just fine. It was stunning. I had a beautiful lunch at a beautiful restaurant. I had fish and salad. It was quite tasty. We went off again and went to the back of the island where we went scuba diving. Not scuba diving, snorkeling, actually. I was also a wee bit scared. I haven't really done much snorkeling. I went in and swam about and even put my head under with a snorkel. I was okay for a bit, but I began to feel really claustrophobic and panicked. Like that time, me, Katie, and Alex and Corey went to the beach, and I couldn't get up to the sandbar and started to lose my cool, and Corey had to swim me back. I'll never forget that day. It was a cool experience, and I'm glad I got to do it. We took the boat back to Rottnest with the sun setting behind our backs. It was absolutely beautiful. I thank Juuuust. I couldn't have had a better day or been more happy. By the time we arrived to dinner at the Royale, a beautiful restaurant on the water, we were all quite drunk. Several bottles of champagne, wine, and beers later. We actually got refused service at the restaurant for being so drunk and looking so haggard. I actually don't blame them, because looking back, I am quite certain I wasn't wearing shoes. We all made a big scene and left. Went to the Lucky Shags instead. Had a Caesar salad and some garlic bread, some red wine, and a great time was had by all. We had a twilight cruise back to the dock near V's house. Me and Juuuust danced on the boat. We all stayed up a bit, devouring wine, a whole roast chicken, and V showed us his gold collection. He collects gold in a mine in the Southern Cross, like with an old school style pan in the water, and lives in the bush, and that's how he affords his boats, 2 homes, 2 cars, etc. He was a very nice guy. Now comes the not so good part. Don't worry, guys, it's not that bad. I went to bed and all of a sudden woke up in the middle of the night with serious gut pain. I was sweating and sore all over. I thought I needed to throw up but couldn't. I had explosive diarrhea and didn't feel better. I literally writhed around on the floor in pain. I was sweating and had the chills. I sat on the toilet for some time. I finally fell asleep, woke up with a combination of a hangover and major stomach problems. Was a totally awful feeling. This was so much more than a hangover. I had the sweats, the chills, awful cramping, diarrhea, nausea. I left V's feeling like serious death. I was quite happy, though, because of the amazing evening. I got a nice long hug from Steph, who said she was so happy to meet me, that we have to stay in touch, that I should come visit her in South Africa sometime. I hugged Juuuust and thanked her for everything. I got to Aaron's parents. They were very, very nice people. They let me use the internet and nursed my poor belly. And then we had to leave for the road trip around noon. The first leg of the road trip was okay, but I slept for all 7 hours. It's been hard. I feel like something is seriously wrong. It might be nice, the whole loss of appetite thing, maybe lose some weight. That makes me feel so sad. So I had a great experience with my friend and her sugar daddy, but something that I ate in the days prior is really not agreeing with me, and I've got pretty much full-blown food poisoning. I didn't have a very good digestive time when I was that age and in Australia. But I'm glad that I had that amazing adventure with Jules and her friends. The next few days, I go on an adventure. I'm on a road trip. I'm on the adventure of a lifetime today was beautiful. We visited several beaches in Esperance, La Grande Beach, Thistle Beach, Lucky Bay. We climbed to Frenchman's Peak and had the most beautiful views. Wow, the next day I write, wow, time flies. I wonder why it flies when you don't want it to. And then I say, I wonder why I wasted so much fucking time in Brisbane. Brisbane gets a bad rap in my diary, but it's really not a bad place. Me and Krista and Aaron are just having the time of our lives. I'm writing all of our favorite inside jokes down. I'm sharing every detail about every laugh we've shared. They convinced me to get my eyebrow pierced. We have just an amazing, amazing road trip. I just am talking about how much I love them, how much I love my new friends. Our road trip came to an end, and the very last leg of this road trip with them is we're heading back to Aaron's parents' house, and we're going out for a night on the town. And then I'm off on my own to head back to Sydney to fly home. I say we got into Aaron's late last night. Her parents are so sweet. They made a huge barbecue. I had steak, sausage, potatoes, salad. What a fun time. Aaron's brother Jared is cute. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Today we're going to go to the Red Bull Air Race, and then we're going out tonight. Tomorrow I'll fly and stay at the YHA for a few days, and then make my way to Melbourne and stop in Apollo Bay. Okay, so actually I'm taking a flight from Aaron, like where I am now, to Adelaide, and then from Adelaide I'm finding my way back to Sydney. Okay, April 18th. What a crazy night. So hungover today, it was worth it. I got up pretty early and decided to go to the Red Bull Air Race. Jared drove us into town. I felt good in my little sundress. The air race was cool. It was hot out. I got a Corona, and I got a couple Coronas. Aaron drank a full bottle of champagne and was so drunk. I told Aaron that I had a thing for her brother, and she was very supportive of it. He was looking so cute all day. Oh, shit. We went back to Aaron's parents. She was so drunk. Krista and I played cards and ate tacos and drank it on the patio. At one point, I was sitting outside by myself. Jared came out and said, "Sorry, were you enjoying your alone time?" And I said, No, sit. We had a small chat about work and music and plans. Wasn't really chemistry, but I did have a good time talking to him. His friends arrived, and before I knew it, I was 5 Coronas deep. There was a party on the back deck, and I was wowing everyone with my magic tricks. One really funny thing happened. Jared's friend Matt came over. He was introducing himself to everyone, and when he came to me, he said in front of the whole table, "Oh, I've heard a lot about you. Jared's been talking about you all day." We all had a good laugh, and I went beet red. It was flattering, though. We took a cab bus to the bar. Me and Jared were sheepishly looking at each other all night. My cheeks actually hurt from laughing. Some of Aaron's friends brought their Canadian housemate, Rob, from Cape Breton Island out to the bar. He was nice and cute. We talked and flirted kind of all night. I noticed partway through the night that I was avoiding Jared, just because I felt too much pressure, I guess. And I was getting on with Rob quite well. Okay, So halfway through the night, I switched guys. I started talking to Rob and was just getting a better vibe. We went to a few places. Me and Rob were flirting the whole time. He was really quite sweet. We ended up spontaneously making out at a bar called The Library. It wasn't a library. They played hella loud techno music, a strobe light, and a fog machine. We were sitting in this booth talking, and somehow he was kissing me. Fuck, he had the best lips. Was a wicked kisser. Like, in fact, spent the rest of the night in a booth at the bar making out. I was turned on heaps, but was feeling a little self-conscious. I had no nice underwear, and I hadn't even shaved my legs. Stupid me for being so unprepared. Like, how did I expect to be prepared as a backpacker? That is too much. Then I say we went back to where he was staying and started things up again. I don't know what was wrong with me. He was so damn sexy. He was kissing my neck and my face and grabbing my face and saying things like, "Come on, give me some tongue." Things were strange, though. Maybe I was too drunk or too tired or just feeling self-conscious, but things just didn't take off. We still had a good time and laughed all night together. I have good memories of him touching me in all the right ways, and I can only imagine, and trust me, I will, how the night could have ended. He was sexy and knew what he was doing, but hey, we just met, and I barely knew the guy, so maybe leaving it where I did was wise. Okay, gained some wisdom in Australia, did ya? Okay, so after that, I am in Adelaide. And Adelaide is a beautiful city with so many cool markets. If I remember anything about Adelaide, it's the cool markets. I stayed in a couple of hostels while I was there for about a week and just met people in the hostels. I list a lot of cool people that I met and go to the market a lot, cook a lot for myself. I went for a tour of the cricket stadium while I was there, which is absolutely crazy to me because more than 10 years later, I would meet and fall in love with a man who is obsessed with cricket. And actually, when Shiva and I met, one of the things that stood out to him about me when we met online was that I had been to the Adelaide Cricket Stadium. So who knew? I was actually really bored when I was there, but I didn't know that someday it would all pay off. I have all kinds of adventures in Adelaide. At one point, I'm chatting with this man who's staying in the hostel, who's like a little bit older than, he's not like in his early 20s. And we start chatting, and he actually says, "Oh, I'm just here for a night because my band is playing in town." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I love live music." So he's like, "Oh, I'll put your name on the list, and if you want to come to this club or whatever." So me and a friend from the hostel go, and we find out that it's actually, he's actually like in a band that's like, they're the headliners. They're called the Philadelphia Grand Jury, and it was an amazing show. But meanwhile, like I go up to to check in at the bar, and they're like, "Do you have a ticket?" And I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm on some list. Like, I know Calvin from a band called the Philadelphia Grand Jury." And she's like, "So you're with the band?" And I'm like, I guess so." And it was just an amazing night. It was so much fun. And I have a great time in Adelaide. And then it's time to go back to Sydney to fly home. I take a road trip, just me, going across Great Ocean Road back to Sydney. I meet some friends on the road trip, and probably the coolest thing that happens on this last leg of my journey is I start reading the book called The Celestine Prophecies, which does change my life. And I think about, so basically I'm reading The Celestine Prophecies, and the first part of that book is all about noticing coincidence. And of course, I start noticing coincidences all around me. Like I notice I'm reading the chapter about coincidences, sitting outside on a bench, and as I'm reading that chapter, there's some boys busking, and they start playing the Star Wars theme song. In my head, I'm like, that's a coincidence. My name's Yoda, so I'm like, coincidence. What happens is my heart opens in a way that it's been so blocked on this trip. It's been so blocked in my life because I'm so heartsick and lonely and heartbroken and I meet a good friend. His name is Antonio. And he's on a tour that I book through Great Ocean Road. He's on the bus with me, and me and Antonio sat in the kitchen after dinner and chatted for hours. We finished our wine and got into a very intense conversation. First, a bit about his return to Italy, his desire to be a writer. Then I mentioned the Celestine prophecies to him, and he knew exactly what I spoke of. I started to think that us meeting was not a coincidence, that we were meant to meet. I felt a very strange connection to him as we faced each other and spoke very personally. It grew all night, and then remarkably he asked, "Have you ever read The Secret?" I haven't told anybody about The Secret yet, how it changed my life. But we talked about it, and it meant the world to me at that moment, that someone else understood and has experienced what The Secret means. Things couldn't stay serious, so eventually we went to the group, had some wine, and played cards with Robert, Tim, and the Dutch couple. Was a lot of fun, and we had drunk a good times. The best, as Antonio would say. It was an amazing night. I'm so glad I did this, and I'm so glad to have met Antonio. I'm leaving Australia. I have 4 days left, and I spend them in Melbourne. I finally make it to Melbourne. And then I head back to Sydney, where I meet Jessa for one final night. We end the night at the same hostel we started. And when Jessa sees me, we haven't seen each other in like well over a month, and we've both been on like entirely different adventures. And when Jessa sees me, she says she cannot believe how much I've changed. And she tells me that I seem like a different person. I seem calmer and more grounded. And, you know, I am. And it's because of this last couple weeks I have by myself to really get grounded in myself. On our last day in Australia, we're flying home together the next day, I write, "A weird thing happened. This woman came up to us on the beach and asked if we wanted to be part of a YouTube video to promote her book, Boot Camp for Your Soul. She had 2 very nice cameramen who taped us and recorded us writing messages in the sand with a stick. I wrote, 'Speak only words of what you want. My favorite message from The Secret.' Jessa wrote, 'Count your blessings.' It was so strange to meet her and an amazing opportunity to be part of something like that. Dare I say, coincidence?" So Jessa and I spent our final night playing ping pong on the balcony, drinking goon, having a crazy heart-to-heart. I told her about The Secret and how my life has changed. She said she can see the change and that I should be excited to go home and share it with my friends. I told her things that I have never told her before, and I think the entire conversation made us feel closer. So today is my last day in Australia, a surreal and I suppose sad feeling. It feels like this day sort of unexplainably just crept up on me. There's a strange range of emotions coming over me and are going to continue coming over me. It's a strange feeling that I don't wish to describe to anyone. I feel low energy right now. I spent the entire 40-minute ride to the airport thinking of all the things that I didn't do. I'm thrilled and excited to be going home with this newfound self. As cheesy as it sounds, I really found out a lot about myself. I'm still working on some things. Remaining positive in difficult situations is the biggest thing, and I can't wait to show people I love back home how I've changed. I am on my way home, and I've got $30 in my pocket. And the last thing I write in this book is that Josh messaged me. I thought I was imagining it at first. And basically, he messages me to see if I want to get together when I get home. So maybe I haven't changed. Spoiler alert, maybe I haven't changed at all. Oh my goodness, what an adventure. This journal is crazy. I'm so glad I had the chance to read it to you, and this is a long episode, so I'm going to wrap us up, but I can't wait to talk to you again. Thank you so much for listening. You can reach me at www.doulovewords.com, and we'll see you when we see you. Big love.